So the core of the program is pretty simple. So I want you guys to follow along with me. So we're what we call a transdisciplinary program, which means that we're looking at students who have multiple disciplines that are coming in and working together. So you could be an engineer, you could be in entrepreneurship, you could be a nurse, you could be a family doctor or a UX UI designer or robotics engineer. So our program actually accepts any individual who has got a university degree in something, okay? We also have a philosophy that we work on, which is called the talent triangle. Now, if you want to do this is the talent triangle. Come on, let me see it. Everybody do it. Yeah, that's right. Good job, good job. Okay, so the talent triangle is very easy. It's creative, technical, and business. And as the MDM program, we work in the middle, okay? So our challenge, if you like, is to make sure that your background, your undergraduate degree, and whatever it may be, is augmented with a lot of digital media. And in doing so, you may be creatively centric or technical or business centric, but at least you're going to get a little bit of each. So when you finally graduate, you can talk to all of the people as opposed to just some of the people. So one of the key things about the MDM program is we function as a strong cohort. And the cohorts are basically based on the group of students that you enter into the program with, and you follow along with those students through the entire year. This is a full-time 12-month professional master's program, which means that hopefully all of the people that you've entered into the program with will graduate with you. It's the reason why we like this is because in the real world, you have to work as a team. So in teams, you have different disciplines, and working in those different disciplines and working with those creative, technical, or business oriented individuals allows you to get a good sense of how to work within the real world. We would really encourage you to get to know your colleagues, and your colleagues also include your faculty members. So unlike undergraduate school where we might give you a hard time about not showing up or maybe sleeping on the desk. In graduate school, your colleagues, you're here, we're learning with you at the same time that you're learning. We're interacting with you both as a supervisory perspective and mentorship, but as well as trying to support you through your educational process. We encourage a lot of students to participate in as many different things external to the program as possible. So if you've got an opportunity to do an internship at a digital media company of some sort, or if 2 or 3 of you get together and you want to go after a research grant, or you want to do a special digital media project of any sort, we really encourage this. And the cohorts that really do these extra things, they tend to be the cohorts that get hired first, that have the strongest interaction between all of the people that they're partnered with, and they tend to produce the best work. So just kind of keep that in mind. The one thing about the MDM program is that we're here to support each other's skills and knowledge base. So you're bringing in new skills and new technologies, new perspectives, new visions, and we want to hear about that. And we want you to exchange that with your colleagues as well. So always engage with other people, be reflexive, being able to see somebody else's opinion as well as give your own, and be as flexible as possible. And really important from a graduate student perspective is that you need to take the lead and responsibility for your own educational process. So if you're not doing that, that means you're not really operating at the graduate level. So unlike undergraduate school, you pay, you go into the class. If you show up, you show up. If you don't, you don't. But in graduate school, we expect you to show up all the time, every time, because all of your classmates, all of your faculty are going to be relying on you to impart some of the knowledge that you have. Now, a little bit of program basics. So this is pretty simple stuff. The program is 12 months in length. We have 2 intakes. One is in January and the other one is in September. So we operate in numbered cohorts. So when we started the MDM program, it was MDM 1.0. That was back in 2013, and we're currently at MDM 8.0. So if you enter in January, you'll be MDM 9, and then in fall, you'll be MDM 10. You're required to take 10, or sorry, 10, I don't know why I said that, 6 mandatory courses and 2 elective courses. As well, you're to complete a master's research project, a master's research paper, or a startup company. So you've got lots of opportunity, different approaches that you can take. So if you want to be highly academic, you can go one way. If you want to be more practical and hands-on, you can go a different way. One thing to kind of keep in mind, at a graduate level, you have to maintain a B average. Listen, if you're falling asleep through half of the classes, you'll still maybe be able to maintain a B, hopefully. We'll keep our fingers crossed. So generally, most graduate students have an A- or higher, so it's always important that you're striving for your best. Now, a little bit of the program overview. Starting in January 2021, you can choose between a fall or winter enrollment. So when you apply, make sure you let us know whether you're applying for January in 2021 or fall 2021. The first semester has 5 core courses that you have to take. Now that's a lot of courses from a graduate level perspective. So if you're being prepared and getting ready to do graduate level research, you're going to have to remember that you can't do a full-time job and do 5 courses at the same time. Or you can't take on a multitude of freelance jobs at the same time. So you're gonna have to, at least for the first semester, pay attention and make sure that you're working on those 5 courses. In the second semester, you take 1 core course, which generally is with me. So lucky you, you get sort of the smiling guy every week. And I take you through on how to create your MRP. And then you get a choice of 2 electives. And those 2 electives can be anything from, say, robotics to physical computing to AR and VR, or to business, anything that really interests you or your master's research project. In the third semester, you're basically hunkering down and you're doing all your research, and you're completing that research in the 4 or 5 months, or you're finishing off that research. And then at the end of the 12 months, we always have an industry night in which you're presenting. This year we had a highly successful virtual industry night, and it was probably the most amount of people that we've ever had for any of the MDM industry nights in our 8-year history. And so this is the night. It's a little bit like a science fair where you present what you've been working on, you talk to potential employers, and you give friends and family an opportunity to actually see what you're working on, because most of the time you've been talking about it and you've been gesturing and saying like this, and grandma's kind of shaking their head and we love you, but I don't understand what you're doing. So that's what that night is all about. So number 5, the application process. And obviously after I do the slide deck, we'll talk about this even further. There's about 4 things that you really need to keep in mind. One is a letter of intent. So the first thing to do with a letter of intent is do not send something that says, I really love digital media and I want to be a digital media person. That doesn't help us whatsoever. And as soon as I see something like that, I always say, they really haven't read anything about digital media. What you want to do in your letter of intent is give us an idea of what about digital media you like. So for instance, we just had a US elections, and by all accounts, the US elections were fairly done. There was little or no international interference, electronic interference in the elections. So one of the MDM research projects could be how digital media affects perception of election results. So you, in your letter of intent, might want to reference a couple of elections that have just recently occurred that either were positive or negative through the use of digital media in their outcomes. Another component of the letter of intent is kind of get a sense of the types of mentors and supervisors that are available to you. And if you like somebody, after reading their resume or seeing them on the Ryerson website, you may want to indicate, listen, Dr. Furwarn, Alex Furwarn, is a wonderful robotics guy, and my MRP really wants to focus in on robotics. So you may want to mention that as well in your letter of intent. But again, please avoid just basic letters. Okay, we want to know a little bit about you. This doesn't mean to boast, so don't list off all your accomplishments. That's great. We're going to get that in your CV and your portfolio, but you really want to dive down in this letter of intent to kind of tell us what you're going to do for the 12 months that you're with us. Your resume, that's the next thing. Now, some students will have limited resumes, meaning they've only had limited work experience, and other people will be highly qualified in their resumes. Do a simple resume. Give us as much information as you can. Don't overload us, but at least give us a good sense of your work accomplishments, the types of things that you've done. And if you haven't done a lot of external work, at least focus in on the skill sets that you may have accomplished during that period. We asked for 3 pieces of a portfolio. And these portfolio pieces can be anything. It could be images, video, they could be poems, they could be a business document that you've written. But we only want 3 examples, and we want a link, an HTML link that we can click on to take us to whatever the example is. So don't give us a website and tell us to take a look at the entire website, because that just that doesn't give us 3 pieces. We want you to hone down very quickly and choose the 3 best portfolio pieces that represent your particular skill set. So if you're a UX UI designer, you may want to give us 3 pieces that demonstrate your ability for that. And then last, we have a request for 2 academic letters of reference. Now this is very important. The people who are providing you the references do not have to write you the letter before you apply. Once your application has been submitted to us, a automatic email will be sent out to your references, and there will be a sort of a form that they fill out, and they'll have an opportunity to write whatever lovely things or wonderful things they want to talk about with regards to you. Please, please, please make sure that the person you've asked to give you a reference likes you, because you cannot believe how many letters of reference that we've received that basically says, I don't understand why this person has asked me for a letter of reference. So you want to make sure that you have people who support you, that want to mentor you, that want to see you progress into this new academic environment. Now, couple things to remember. If you're going to apply for January, the deadline is December 9th, and I highly encourage you to apply if you want to start early. Some people are probably going to ask, are we still doing virtual? Are we doing in person? As you know, throughout the world, we're still in a pandemic. Officially, Ryerson will be running virtual classes up until May of next year. And at that time, we'll review whether or not what is it? A virus solution. My brain's not working too well right now. Whether or not there's an antidote, I guess, for the pandemic, and whether that's even evenly distributed and that allows you to come and visit us at Ryerson, or whether we found a new way to work interactively in person, we will let people know by then. So if you apply for January, at minimal, the first half of the program will be virtual. If you apply in fall, we're not sure if it will be virtually or physically done, okay? Either way, I'm going to say this. We are a master's program in digital media. So if we're unable to work in a virtual environment, there's a problem. So, and there's a lot of pain points for us as researchers to examine during this pandemic environment. Now, if you're going to apply in September, the deadline for application is January 18th. So you'll have to make a decision whether or not you're applying for January or September. And if you, I'm not sure if we've really come up with a plan yet, if someone wants to switch in between one or the other, but if there's any last minute decisions, you let us know, okay? And we'll see what we can do for you. And then finally, good luck with your application. It takes a lot to get a master's application together, but we have seen hundreds and hundreds of these applications over the years, and we've seen some pretty bad ones, but we've also seen the majority of them have been excellent. So what I would highly recommend is that you take your time, make the effort to produce a really good application. Now, the one thing I think I probably missed here in the application process is that there's a fifth thing, and that is your transcripts from the university and institutions that you would have done your undergraduate degree in. You've got two options here. You can either give us original transcripts through an electronic process directly from your institution, or you can give us what the institution gives you as just temporary transcripts for now in order to start the process. And we can talk about that further afterwards. So I'm going to switch. I think people have been answering the questions, but I'm going to turn off my screen. And how should we work this?
I think people should start, if you have any questions that you'd like answered specifically, just enter them into the chat. And what Michael and I will do is start from the top down and answer your questions that way. Excellent. Is that good for everyone?
Great. And while we're waiting for some of those questions to roll in, I'm going to hand the screen over to Dr. Alex Furlong, who is the Graduate Program Director of our program.
Hi, I was busy answering some of the questions. I guess I'll stick with the academic components first. A lot of you are wondering what the GPA cutoff is. Ryerson's GPA cutoff is supposed to be a B+, but we don't actually adhere to that in digital media. We look at your portfolio, what the letter you wrote to us, your letters of reference, what you've done in the past, and if you tell us a good story. If you do all of that, we have let people in with an average of C+. So I will make accommodation for anything like that, but you have to tell us a good story, right? Because what we're attempting to do is put together a cohort. It's not it's about you, right? We want your success, but your success is actually buoyed up by the people we mix in with you. And so this actually sort of causes the question, well, what's the cohort going to be like? And actually, I don't have an answer for that. In 8 iterations of the MDM, we have not been able to predict what a cohort was like yet. So some are very business oriented, others are very artistic. Some collaborate very, very closely, very, very quickly. Some take a long time to actually gather their resources and figure out what they're doing. Some you think they're going to be, oh, this is horrible, and then they pull it out of the fire, and it's the best thing since sliced bread. Michael was alluding to last cohort that graduated in August or finished their work in August. I was predicting dire consequences because we're in COVID time, and as Michael alluded to, they produced probably the best show we ever saw. In other shows, we didn't actually get much of a show. We got a lot of business because students were busy selling their products. I was in one, I don't know, maybe 3 or 4 years ago, where there must have been 6 or 7 deals made where people were purchasing the major research paper products of our students. Will that happen to you? I don't know. I've stopped predicting, but it kind of gives you a feel for what we kind of do. In your question, what's some of the other questions I've seen? English proficiency. Yes, we will not waive an English proficiency test. However, if you can't get an English proficiency test, or there is a problem with the English proficiency test and you are close, you can book a one-on-one meeting with me if you're serious, and I will give you a 15-minute English proficiency test. What we're particularly interested in is your ability to speak to one another, because you are going to be speaking to one another, and your ability to write, because the MRP, major research paper, requires quite a lot of writing no matter how you look at it. I think Michael alluded a little bit to the first term. The first term that you're registered, if you choose to come with us, is kind of a hell term, because we're trying to jam stuff into you. Some of you were asking, well, what if I already had an expert at something? That's great, because you're going to need it. What if I don't know anything? That's fine. We have the talent triangle for that, right? So if you know nothing about business, we'll send you on Professor Sean Weiss's magic course. And you'll learn all about entrepreneurship and hate every minute of it, but then you'll love it right after you're finished it, because you will have learned how to actually a new skill in your portfolio that you probably didn't have before. Myself, to just give you some idea of the eclectic nature of the MDM. So Michael is an archaeologist, a digital archaeologist. And he has nothing to do with me. I'm a computer scientist. Actually, I'm a professor in the Department of Computer Science at Ryerson, but I'm also the graduate director for computer science. So there's a deep relationship between them. You may just not see it yet. So I think I'll stop spinning words into your ears, and I'm hope if anybody has any questions they wish to actually speak, they can do that. Maybe I'll hand it over to Lisa. And where is Lisa now?
Oh, that's okay, Lisa. So let's, there's a lot of questions coming through, so I'll try to answer them as quickly as possible. If you don't have academic references, yes, 3 professional references can be acquired. Again, with your references, make sure that they're people who support you and that they're going to give you a reference longer than 2 sentences. Because if I get a reference that is 2 sentences long, that means that the individual just doesn't know you that well. Okay, so keep that in mind. People have talked about funding. So we have, there's multiple forms of funding that are available. If you are a Canadian student, obviously you can receive OSAP. And I believe as an international student, you can receive OSAP as well, which is a type of funding source which has to be paid back. It's a loan. There are some grants that the program does provide. We don't have an exact number every year on how much those grants will be, because we tend to take a more utopian approach to it. So we get everybody in, and then we figure out, okay, we've got 50 people, and how much money do we got left over? We'll split it 50 ways, type of thing. We do, in the program, we normally give each student $500 to acquire any technology, software, or event that's related to the program or their MRP for them to use on their, to make a decision on whatever they'd like to use it for. If you are going to do more of a business orientated, or if you're going to do some research that is business orientated, we use a program called MyTax, which is effectively a Government of Canada funded program of which a company that you would have to partner with would put up half the money and the government puts up half the money. And international students can participate in this as well. So that being said, there is nothing, there really isn't any funding for you to apply to before you get in. Okay, it's only after you're in. There will be teaching assistantships, research assistantships that are provided by the university, so you have to apply to them. So if you want to be a TA for a professor, or you want to learn how to teach, then you can get paid for doing that. But in general, you need to get orientated first, and then figure out which funding source you could potentially apply to.
There's a little bit more to it, because as we're going through the process of evaluating if you get in or not, your marks and other characteristics that you have will automatically trigger some things. So some of you will actually receive some funding from the program. You just don't have to apply for it. So it just magically appears based on the wonders of what you've submitted to us. But Michael is correct about the rest of the stuff.
Yeah, and those deadlines are really important to kind of keep in mind, because if you apply before those deadlines are finished, you're actually automatically considered for the first bank of research, or sorry, first bank of grant money that we have available. And once all that money disappears, then there won't be any more funding available to you if you apply late. Someone had asked a question about, do we get many older students? Oh, I love this question, because our oldest student has been 61, and our youngest student has been right out of undergrads, about 23. So we get a broad range of ages and skill sets within the program. Some are highly professional, some are directors, some have been movie producers, some are animators, some are research scientists from other fields.
A couple of Olympians.
We have, yeah, Olympians, you know, the whole gambit that you can think of, we've had it. So doctors, nurses, the whole 9 yards. So we find it very, very effective to have a broad range of skills, ages, and opinions into the program. So feel free to apply. You don't have to feel that you have to be highly academic. The only thing you have to understand is that once you become a master's student, you got to roll up your sleeves and do a lot of work. Okay. And so there's a lot of questions about portfolio. I've attached a link to video. I'm supposed to tell, yeah. So when you do your portfolio pieces, try to give us like a paragraph of, you know, what you did in that particular link or video or presentation, just so we know we can recognize your work as opposed to somebody else's work. And you work as a team. Everybody works as a team. We get that. We just need to know, you know, what was your specialty and how did you contribute to the success of that particular project? Or this is why I'm really proud of what I've done. Okay. I work in the area of digital marketing. Do you think with a master's degree I can evolve my fieldwork? Yes. So
that's the funniest question, actually.
I know.
I'll take that one, Michael. That's a cool one. Yeah, we actually have a lot of marketers. All of them seem to want to get out of marketing, though. We have some that go on to become better marketers, and some just completely change their tactics and try and do something else. Some of them have actually become data scientists. So through the MDM, don't ask me how, but they actually took enough courses in sort of ancillary ways and developed an MRP that immediately got them hired. And I'm thinking about Umar. I forget the last name. Yeah. So tell you how strange things are. Michael and I met a company that came into the DMZ. So the MDM is situated within the world's largest university incubator, the DMZ. So they actually came, this company, to talk to the DMZ, not to us. But when they talked to us, they asked us a whole bunch of questions we didn't really understand. And then they asked about a certain digital marketing campaign that they had. And then we mentioned one of our students named Umar. And so Umar eventually had a meeting with them, and then Umar became sort of their total asset and how they did their digital marketing campaign, because he developed concepts which they had never seen before. So that's just one success story based on random things that occur within this program. So yes, we have digital marketers, and we have all kinds of marketers that come to our program. So.
Yeah, I think it's really important to understand that you're bringing in your area of skill set. So for instance, I noticed Robin Kang is on. Hi, Robin. I'm gonna point you out. Robin actually was a nurse, and before she came into the program, but was really passionate about social media and passionate about connecting with people who are in the esports gaming environment. and has now become a highly sought after academic in esports, and primarily in the mentoring process through esports. So you have the option of being able to come in with one particular skill set, learn and expand on where you may want to go, and then achieve that. Now there's a couple of questions that are going really fast, so let me just hit those. The question is this a highly academic or a highly professional program? It's whatever you want it to be. So if you think that you're going on to a PhD, or you want to teach with your master's degree at a college, then it can be highly academic. If you want to be more practical, you want to learn more skills in order to enhance your environment, or your research environment, whether it be AR or robotics or physical computing, you can do that. If you want to start a company, we've got lots of people who've done that as well, and multi-million-dollar companies, in fact. So the option is really yours. And the other thing I would almost say to you is that, because I can feel the wheels turning in your heads right now. You're probably saying to yourself, "Oh, I got to write that down in my letter of intent. I'm going to start my business." Just one thing with your letter of intent, it's basically just a calling card to get you in. Okay. We find that most people write down one thing in their letter of intent, and within 4 or 5 weeks of being in the program, where they realize, I don't want to do that anymore. I think this is cool, or I think that's cool. I'm going to go towards that. So don't feel like you're locked into a particular viewpoint. Okay. So when do applications? Yeah, go ahead, Alex.
I can take a few. There's a stream that I'm getting from a few about work and study. So there is a rule. It's a rather schizophrenic rule in Ontario universities that are strange. In practical fact, Michael already said it, if you come to the MDM in the first term, you won't have time to work. In the second term, however, things do let up. And so the rule is that you're only allowed as a graduate student to work 10 hours a week for anything that is not related to your research. However, there's another rule which cancels that rule out, which is you don't actually have to tell us that you're working. This is a stupid situation. And so just this week, so I don't think Michael knew about it, the Dean of Grad Studies has been working to actually clarify this rule. So basically there's going to be a policy coming out that says you can work and nobody can ask you anything about it. So the answer is yes. Now, should you work? That is something you'll have to figure out for yourself. Most of our MDM students do try and work after they finish the first semester. The first semester is quite a heavy load. So there's that. Here's one, deferring. Can I defer to a later intake? Well, since you haven't applied yet, there's no deferring, so that doesn't really make any sense. So if you want to apply, you can take your chances, but you know what? I don't defer anybody. So you either come or you don't come. And if you come, we'll take good care of you. If you don't want to do it yet, then don't apply yet. But there's really no deferral.
And let me just jump in and say that we generally get about 180 applicants per year for roughly 40 slots. So it's highly competitive. If you're truly engaged and want to do a master's in digital media, then put your best foot forward and bring in your application. We have had several occasions of which people have applied 1 year, have not gotten in, have taken our advice on how to improve their application, and have gotten in the following year. And one of the good things that's happened just recently, and this was before COVID, we had already planned to do it, is that we're now having 2 cohorts per year. So if you don't get in the first cohort in fall, you can reapply to get in for January. My advice is always to be coachable. Listen to what we've given you as key points, and if you don't get in the first time, come back, find out why, and then we'll help coach you, because we don't want to turn people down. We just want to make sure that you're prepared and ready to do your master's degree.
Got one for just get out my undergrad. Yep, we accept you just under your undergrad. Again, it's your story that we're interested in. So if you tell us what you actually want and you actually know what you want, we can help you get it. If we don't understand what you want, we don't rate you very highly, frankly. So you kind of have to at least give us an area. Some people are very directed. We don't need very directed, but we do need an area that you want to work in. So that'd be very, very helpful if you could tell us that. So forget the flowery speech and everything. Just tell us what you're looking for, and we'll try and accommodate. I'm a journalist. Yeah, we have journalists. In fact, we have very successful journalists that move on to other things. I will tell you another anecdote whose name I can't remember, but we actually had a war correspondent who was a Chinese war correspondent. Who knew that? I didn't know that. Chinese, of course, have war correspondents. So he's an immigrant to Canada, and he's a cameraman, and he went through the MDM and sold his idea back to the company that fired him in China. So he found a way of turning an interview in the field, which cost $660 to do for a regular war correspondent. He made it cost $60. They immediately bought the idea back and they offered him a job back, but he didn't. He went to go work for the Canadian Broadcasting Corporation instead, where he's a cameraman now. So, and I think he's a digital media something or other in the camera section. So,
Yeah. And there's a lot of people are asking about whether or not you have in your portfolio, you have to have any digital media elements. You don't. Okay. Once again, let me reiterate, you're coming into the program to learn digital media, so you don't need to show us any of your digital media stuff. If you want to, feel free to do so, but don't feel like you have to, after this session, go down into the basement, spool up your alias or AR, VR tools and try to come up with the latest vision. We're going to show you how to do that, okay? And someone was talking about your, if you are an international student and have been doing your undergraduate or any education here in Canada, but don't have your ILTIS, please let us know. So there's kind of a two-stage process here, is that when you apply, you apply to UAC, they tell us that you've applied, then parts of your application go to the Yates School of Graduate Study here at Ryerson, and they have something called an admissions officer. And that officer goes through, all the bits and pieces that you're assembling. So your transcripts, your English language equivalency, if you have it or if you need it. And if you're missing something, they're going to contact you back. So when they contact you back, you could say, well, I've been here for 4 years and I speak perfect English. I don't think I really need the ILTIS. And as Alex said, if we need to, he will give you a 15-minute interview in order for you to prove that you can communicate in the language. Okay, so don't get too hung up on that, but just keep in mind that there's a multi-stage process here, and that we don't actually get the information until the admissions officer has checked off all the boxes and said, okay, this application is good to go. Okay.
Yeah, so along that, there's one addition that may alleviate some of you. Like if your language of instruction in your undergraduate degree was English, you don't need a test. You're good to go with us. So that's
okay, cool.
Fine.
And someone has said they work in the graphics field. Excellent, good for you. Alex said, I am an archaeologist, but I spent 25 years in the film and television business as an executive producer, producing children's programming. So whether you got kids or whether or not you grew up in the 90s, you probably would have seen something that I produced, both for Disney and Nelvana and so forth. So we take all types in the film business. We've had directors, producers, animators, visual effects artists. We have 2 visual effects artists right now in the program, storyboard artists, the whole 9 yards. So if you are more sort of visually orientated, visual narrative orientated, that's fine. We've got lots of courses and faculty members who would love to teach you. Do you, last year, academic language program, So language questions, I think they're, again, you know, if you don't have IELTS, but you speak English, you know, let somebody know, and then we'll try to work through that process. Okay.
There's the question of work permit after that. I don't know the answer to, actually.
I know roughly the answer to that.
Okay.
Yeah. So as a student who graduates from a master's program, you do get a 12-month extension beyond that in order to apply for full residency, if that's what you're looking for, and or just to work within the Canadian market for 12 months. Okay. But can I just be, I'm just going to be flat open here for those students who are international. Don't look at the graduate program as a way to get into Canada. That's not something that we're interested in, and it ultimately you're going to be disappointed as well. If you want to take the program because you're truly interested in taking the existing skill set that you have and applying it to a digital media environment, that's the ticket. And then Bob's your aunt, sorry. There's a term here in North America, it's called Bob's your uncle, and then you're good to go. So some people ask, what's the employment rate like? Most of our students graduate with jobs within the, after 6 months of graduation, it's 97% full employment. So that's pretty good. That's pre-COVID. So COVID right now is obviously causing a whole bunch of other employment issues. But from a digital media perspective, because we are the experts in digital media and working virtually, our graduates tend to be working a lot more right now than other graduates are. So the other thing is that this program is not a job for you to, is not a program for you to get a job. We're, again, an academic environment. We're going to mentor you. We're going to help you. We're going to try to find you the best fit at the end of the day, but don't expect to take the program and say, I'm going to jump $40,000 in my wages, or I'm going to immediately find the job. We don't know what life is going to be like when you graduate. And it's quite possible that you may decide that, hey, I've just developed this brand new skill set and I really want to live in China, or I want to go to Egypt, or I want to live down in South America. And then you've gone down and you've taken those skill sets there. And the only reason I bring that up is because we've had plenty of students who have just graduated and said, yeah, I'm moving to a different country. May I unmute myself? Okay, sure, go ahead. Who wants to ask the question?
Yeah, it is me, Michael. It's Wahid.
Okay.
So I have three questions. I will not take much of your time. The first question was related to my letter of recommendations. I have more than of 2 years of experience. I'm working here with MNCs, like helping out with their digital campus and everything. But I went for two professional references and one academic references. Is that fine?
Sounds good. Yep, we'll take it. But hey, again, make sure that the people like you.
Exactly. Okay, the one is from my country, the one academic reference, and the one academic reference is from Canada. There's
Yep.
like
Yeah.
a really, yeah, would that work? Because I'm working as a
Sure.
graphic designer with the, okay, that's good.
Yeah.
Okay, the second question, sorry to
Go
cut
ahead.
you off. The second question is related to my portfolio, because I have really big diversified portfolio, because I'm involved in animation, I'm involved in videography, I'm involved in graphic designing, I'm involved in website designing, like
Okay.
you name it, I have it.
Yeah,
So
let me help you there. Pick
yeah.
3 pieces that are your
Okay.
best 3 pieces of something. So for those of you who don't do film work, your best writing, your best business proposal, your best photography image, your best, dance performance, your best lighting. Just give us 3 examples of the
We had an accountant, best audit.
best audit. Yeah, and we've had accountants as well. So just give us something that you're really proud of, that it's something that you've hung up on the wall or you've put in your resume and you've said, this has been the best thing since that I've ever done. Okay.
Yeah, cool. And the last question is that related to my name. For example, like in our country, English is secondary language. So my complete name is Wahid Ahmed. On my transcript, it is Ahmed, but on my passport, it is AHMAD.
Right.
So it's ED and AD.
Yeah.
So I
Yep,
hope
we work through that stuff all the time. Yep.
Yep, don't worry about it. I'm sure there'll be a, for students who have that particular problem, we're able to walk you through that.
I wouldn't call it a problem. It's a feature.
Oh, yeah, feature, thank you. Yeah, so, yeah,
yeah,
pain point.
okay. That's all. Thank you so much, guys.
Wonderful.
That's all from my side.
Does anybody else have any questions for us?
Yeah, there's like 20 lined up there.
Okay, who wants to just unmute and say, I've got a question? We're excited. I'm excited. Yes. You got to unmute though. There we go.
Yeah, hi.
Well-
So I have a couple of questions. First one being, I have transcripts evaluated from West for my immigration purposes earlier this year. So
Okay.
will those transcripts do, or do I have to get them evaluated again?
Yes. So first off, those transcripts that you have, you can send them in now in order for us to start the process, but we will need to have originals from your school in order to qualify it. Okay?
Okay, so those are from back home. So I
Yes.
think that might take some time. Will that affect my application?
No, you just start with what you've got, and then if you're given an acceptance, we'll give you a certain amount of time to finish off your application with the original transcripts.
and those times have been getting longer because of COVID. So.
Yeah, exactly.
Yep,
Okay,
we
second
understand.
second one being that my portfolio, I have worked for CNN back home for 5 years. So what my job was to produce shows. So I was a rundown producer. So mostly what I've done is make rundowns, build bulletins, and that those bulletins go on air. So what I can provide is the shows that I have produced. Will that
Yeah.
do as portfolios?
Pick 3 shows that are your favorite. You know,
Okay.
the
Actually,
ones that you took control over.
You
Okay.
raise an important point, and actually it's for everybody. So you told us specifically what you did, and that's what we're looking for. So, so in your portfolio, don't just send stuff. Send what you actually did with this stuff.
Okay.
So in the past, we have had people send us 2.5-hour feature-length movies. And it's been done more than once. And as we all know, that more than one person works on a movie and they do different things, right?
Yeah.
So be very specific about what you did, and then we'll consider you based on that.
Okay. Okay. The last one being that, as I mentioned, I'm from the news industry. So will this course help me to get myself evolved and then get something, because digital media is something that is coming up in the future. So all I'm worried is that will that all that I've done before will go to waste, or can I collaborate all of it and then
No,
move forward?
nothing that you've done in the past goes to waste for us, because you're either going to give it to somebody, you're going to give that information and help somebody else, or you're going to use it yourself and enhance your digital media experience. The one thing we should, I guess we should have said, is that from a graduate student perspective, it all comes down to your research. And what we want you to do is find a pain point, okay? Something where there's a gap in the research or in how people conduct themselves in their daily lives. And I'm sure as a CNN producer, you've probably encountered many pain points that you're thinking to yourself, oh, I wish I could only do X, Y, or Z. And that's what we're looking for from a research perspective, is for you to identify what those pain points are in your area of specialty.
Okay. Thanks. Thank you so much. That's it.
Pleasure. Who else would like to ask a question? These are great, actually.
Hi.
Hi.
I'm sorry, my camera is not working at the moment.
That's all right.
I have 2 to 3 quick questions. First one is, if I apply for September 2021 and December, so like in a month, when will I hear back about the admissions decision?
Yeah, so if you're applying for September of 2021, we will likely start handing out admission offers around March of 2021, okay? Because our deadline is going to be for the September, January 18th. And it takes us a bit of time to get everybody together. And we have a selection committee that has formed. Alex and I are part of that selection committee. So there will be other faculty members that are involved. We get together, and it usually takes a couple of weeks to go through everybody. And then we start handing out offers almost immediately.
Okay, perfect. And for the portfolio, you mentioned that it has to be a website, so not a PDF, correct?
Yeah, try to make it as easy as possible for us. Like mount the PDF somewhere on a cloud-based server somewhere, just so that we can click on it. And the only reason I say that is because we have multiple people who are evaluating your portfolio, and it's just easier for them to click on a web link than it is for us to download something and make sure that we're all looking at the same file and so forth.
There's a technical reason as well. So it's not that we need an entire web link, a website. We do need a web link or some kind of link to your portfolio, because or parts of your portfolio. In fact, if you try and load a giant portfolio, it won't work. We're only our antiquated system for accepting you it only involves 2 megabytes of free space for you. So that's not going to take that's like if you got a feature length movie, we're not going to be able to see it if you do it that way. So please send us a link to it or some method for getting the link. Just don't try and give us the thing. It's not that we don't want it, but you'll be sadly disappointed that you won't be able to give it to us.
Yeah.
Okay, that makes sense. Thank you. And my last question is, for those of us who want to work outside of academia when the program is over, what kind of job titles should we expect to get hired in?
Sure. CEO of finance, head of operations, director of film, you name it, head journalist. We've got everybody in there. We've got head of the hockey, women's hockey league. We've got just a ton of various positions. The master's, so for most people, a master's degree denotes to the industry that you have the management skills to work as a team, to be able to evaluate a situation, and to give us to give them a well-researched response. So you tend to have more of managerial style positions that you can apply for than, say, in your undergraduate. So it kind of gives you a leg up there. But I can tell you that, we've had people that have created their own job titles because they started their own, multi-million-dollar companies. So it's
actually that's very true. You could tell that story, Michael. We've got at least one.
Yeah. So my and Ziv, for instance. There is someone had talked about people with looking at communicative impairments. We had a young lady who has a severe form of, I think it was cerebral palsy, but she was in a mechanical wheelchair. And one of her pain points is when you're in a wheelchair, you have to do a lot of pre-planning before you go out. So if you're going out on a date, or you're going out to eat at a restaurant, you have to go to the school, you have to do all this pre-planning, like, are the doors big enough for my wheelchair to go through? Is there a ramp? Is there a step that I have to go? Is there an elevator? Is there washrooms? So Mayan actually created, she had this idea in her head that she came into the program with, that she wanted to be able to crowdsource this information. So she used the courses that she was taking in order to develop all of the assets, all of the components in order to develop a company. And that company became Access Now. And that company now is global. It's a multi-million-dollar company. And basically what it is, it's very simple in the way of its deployment, but it's basically using a map-based system of which people can crowdsource information to let people who have certain forms of motorized disabilities to be able to access the environments that they want to go to. So it's just, you can come in with pretty much any idea and experiment with it. We didn't talk about failure. We want you to fail. I don't, I think that's really important, is like, I'm going down the route, going down this particular route. I've done all my research and I realized, holy cow, nobody wants this thing. It's not of any interest whatsoever. And you may look at it as I just failed, but we look at it as, holy cow, you just did an amazing thing. You've recognized a situation and you're moving on, you're pivoting, you're shifting, and you're making that failure into a success.
Yeah, we've had a lot of students like that, actually. Students who thought they were going to do one thing, got really upset because it didn't work out, kept hitting themselves against this thing, and then realized they actually made something else. That is common. So it's not actually failure, it's just you didn't recognize what your success was. There's a lot of that. Just one more point with Mayan Ziv's company. She learned that she wanted to make the company in the course that she was taking in the MDM. So we have a professor who was teaching the course on entrepreneurship. She had a kind of a hard time thinking about it for a long time. And then over time, she developed this into the idea. And I think it was like a couple of years ago, they got an $8 million direct investment from the federal government of Canada, right? So,
yeah. So
Wow.
yeah, great success. And sorry, I've been seeing the questions fly by here. The applications for January 2021, if you are applying for this January, you'll know before Christmas, and likely before, say, December 20th, that you've gotten in. So if you're really interested, or if you're just sort of at home right now, spinning your wheels, waiting for something to happen, then I would make the application for January and get a head start on everything.
yeah, so actually, if you're accepted in a January admission, there's the one opportunity that perhaps you can defer it. We don't regularly allow that, but there's a possibility that that might be allowed for January. So it's worth your while to try for January.
Yep. Does anybody else want to ask any questions verbally? Oh, hand up, Asim.
There.
Hi.
Oh, sir. So Asim, may I go to Martina first?
Yeah,
and then
that's
I'll go to
okay.
you?
Sure.
Okay, go ahead, Martina.
A very blunt question. I have a 2-year-old and a 1-year-old. I have full-time care for my children. Do you think that it's realistic to think that I could do this for this January?
Yeah, so I'm going to give you and both Alex and I have been fathers in the past with multiple kids. It's going to be very difficult for you to do this full time.
Okay.
Yeah, I would highly recommend sort of giving it a 6 months or 7 months, and maybe apply for the the September 2021 or the January 2022 once the kids are ready to go into daycare, because you're gonna need that
I
time.
actually have full-time care at home. I have somebody at home
Oh.
already.
Yeah,
So-
you wouldn't be the first, and we've had very successful moms.
That's true.
So, yeah,
Yeah.
you wouldn't be the first one. I can think of probably half a dozen off the top of my head, and they tend to be very directed. So you actually have a kind of an advantage. But it also depends on well, if you have full-time care, I would say you could do it.
Yeah.
Because
my
we've seen it
partner
happen.
is at home full-time and would be dedicated to the children full-time while I'm studying.
Yeah,
That's perfect.
We've seen that. Well, I said I can think of 6 cases, but I'm sure we have more.
Yeah, and we've had some program babies as well halfway through, which has always been excellent as well.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah, cheers. Asim?
Yeah, hi. I was just going through the courses and the information that is available on the website. So I had some questions about that. There was something mentioned about the digital media zone. So, I mean, it says about access to mentors. So I just wanted some more information about that. Is this specifically, to do with startups, or if I am aiming at, something which is more technical, how it's divided into art and design and then business side. So is that going to help me as well?
Well,
We
go ahead,
Well, we can help you with a lot of things. So the MDM is hooked into the DMZ, as we mentioned, so the digital media zone. But that's only one zone at Ryerson. So there are many zones at Ryerson. The idea behind zones is that students provide get provided with mentorship, and it's not all about commerce. So if there's some technical requirements, say you want to print something 3D, we have the design fabrication zone that will help you with that. If you have some scientific component that in your work, we have the science zone that will help you with that. And if you're really into one of them, you can even become a member of that zone. And that will give you some additional mentoring. We also have informal relationships. For example, I run a research lab within the Department of Computer Science called the Network-Centric Applied Research Team. I have 4 postdocs, 6 doctoral students, and a bunch of master's students who are intimately involved with the MDM normally. So if you require some help from an academic sense, they're there. If you need something, you need a drone, we can get you a drone. There's a lot of mentoring that goes on here. Some of it's formal, so there's a formal component. So when you're doing your major research paper, there is a supervisor and a second reader, we call them. Those are your mentors that are assigned, or you find them and then they volunteer to work with you. But they're just 2, right? There's way more that you can gain access to if you want, but if you don't want, you don't have to either. Right? So.
Does that help us?
Okay, thank you.
Yeah.
Yeah. Also, one more thing, again, related to the courses. I looked into the elective ones. So there's one about selected topics. So I wanted to ask you if, I mean, how are these topics chosen? Because these are different topics every year, aren't they?
Yes.
Or every term.
Yeah, so what happens is that we like to be nimble, agile, if you like, or you're going to be dealing with agile. And the select topics is really sort of our bucket courses. So typically over the years, we've had stuff on AR and VR and selected topics, which have then become full courses. We've had courses in serious gaming. We've had courses in themed entertainment. And when we talk about themed entertainment, we're talking about amusement park like Disney or Universal, that type of course of which you get to go down and interact with those people. So the selected topics are generally chosen based on where the cohort's interests are that year. And we find out in September and sort of the first semester, sorry, I apologize, the first semester of the program, we figure out where everybody's going, what their interest is, and then we'll assemble a selected topic for that. Okay. And
yeah, sure. Thank you.
Cheers. And Charles, you had a question.
Yeah, thank you so much, Alex and team. It's been a wonderful session all through. A whole lot of information you guys have actually thrown out to us. Thank you so much for that. So my question is actually a simple one, and I just need a clarification about portfolio, right? So someone has asked that question already before. Is it possible to submit a PDF document as a portfolio? But the question I actually want to ask is that, is it possible to submit a PDF that contains link to project portfolios? Does that work?
That's what we want. So like you can either give us a bunch of links in a document of some other kind, but normally people put it into a PDF, and those are URLs that lead to some kind of web resource. And so that's what we actually want. So just give us one PDF and it'll link to whatever you want to show us.
Oh, perfect. Amazing. Thank you so much for that.
Cheers. Excellent. And did we have any other questions that wanted to be asked?
Yes, I have a question.
Okay.
I am seeing in your website that there is there are two, they are mentioning 2 programs, the full-time and another one that is not full-time. I don't know if
on the website
if it is right. Yes.
Yeah. No, sorry. This is a full-time program. We haven't had permission to run a part-time program, and it's likely that we won't have permission for that for the next little while. So, at the moment, it's a full-time program.
Okay. Great. Thanks. And the other question is, I have been working with companies my entire professional life. the work I have done is for that company. Does that count as a portfolio for you guys?
As long as you've got 3 examples that you're really proud of, then, and your company is okay with us showing, you showing it to us, then we're good to go.
Yeah, we're very interested in seeing what you've got, right? So we don't care so much where you got it from, as long as you did it, right? So because we're trying to knit together a cohort roughly, and we're no good at determining what you will do when you get here. So when you get here, we're often quite wrong about what we were thinking, but we usually get it right in terms of the people we want. So show us what you've got. Don't worry so much about where it's from.
Yeah.
Okay.
I'd like to move on. Oh, Mayton? Go ahead,
Hello,
my friend.
good morning or good evening to everybody. Actually, my question is, could you please explain one of the cohorts that has been before in the Ryerson MDM? For example, how is the combination of backgrounds? Could you please explain one of them?
Sure. You know, I'm
Thank
going to put Robin Kang on the spot because Robin actually worked in a group project with a whole bunch of other people, and she just recently graduated and now she works for us. So Robin, why don't you go ahead?
Yes, Martin, sorry, can I get a clarification on your question? Was it like, are you asking a group project, MRP?
No, actually, I'm asking about the cohort. I mean, how is the combination of a good cohort that you have?
Oh
that
my
you had
goodness.
Before?
Yes, yes, I understand. So one of the biggest
Excuse me,
benefits.
actually, I'm asking for the background. I mean, the
Yes.
combination of the background. Thank you.
Yes. So I found each cohort. So we're called cohort 7.0, but each cohort is a combination of various backgrounds and various degrees, various experiences. You know, I was the only one coming from a health sector. We had others, graphic designers, more from the digital media's perspective, but we also had videographers, educators, researchers, and, you know, right from undergrad to various ages. And throughout, you don't really get to know your peers on the first week, but over time, people talk about their experiences and show their skill set through your courses, because in the courses, there's a lot of group work. And from everyone's different, and you get to work in these groups with various people. So 40 people are in your group. And it's really amazing what other people's experiences bring. So we have like DJs also, coding. I'm just thinking on top of my head, but honestly, a wide variety. And that's the best part of being in the MDM program, is meeting all these people and the connections that they have and all these expertise that you bring and what you've learned. So I had digital media skills, and social media skills, and other people in my cohort had zero, and we were able to exchange. And even after the graduation, your cohort goes with you for life, and we just communicate and make connections. And that's one of the biggest benefits of being in a Masters of Digital Media program.
Yeah, perfect. Thank you.
Thank
Just
you.
one more question. If it's possible, would you please explain one of the projects that can explain the main theme of this program the best?
Robin, I hate to say it, I'm going to put you on the spot because your project was just, you know, stellar last year.
Sure. So for me, honestly, because like Michael said, I come from a healthcare background. I joined the MDM program to try something brand new, something different. And even though I could have done my project in a healthcare way, like healthcare and digital media and healthcare and communications, I actually try to do something completely different, because the way the program is set up, it's very driven by you. So I had an interest in esports, and I knew research in esports was very little. So that's what I went with. And I found all these connections. Once you're in university, you'll find so many resources and connections and professors who you could talk to, and they will give your time to. And from there, you're able to figure out, okay, do I want to do a project, or do I want to do research, or do I want to make a company? And the MDM program helps you, what you want to do, form that. So if you're really driven to do a paper and you want to get into the academic road, they'll help you with that. If you're more driven to get into a new position at the end of this and build up your skill set and portfolio, they'll help you with that. It's really about what you want to do. And for me, I honestly tried esports to do something different. I learned, and then by the end of the program, I was able to confidently say, I'm actually very educated in this stream. I know what's going on. I could back up with all my research. And it's only because I selected a topic that I wanted to do. So the MDN program is whatever you choose to do. That's what they keep repeating.
Yeah. And Robin's being very modest. She's also being recognized by the academic field as being an expert in this field now of esports. So that's a very important sort of addition to it. Now,
excuse me, just one more question. For the main theme or the thing that we are going to follow in our future, whether it is professional or academic, I mean, how much should be explained in the SOP? I mean, is it should be explained clearly that what am I going to do in the future, or just I have to mention some parts of it?
Yeah, you're futurescaping with us, okay?
Yeah.
You're kind of giving us an idea of where you think you want to go, and like we said before, all the students come in with one idea, and they come out in a completely different perspective or a completely different process.
Yeah.
Okay.
Thank you.
No problem. Martina, I'm going to get to you in a sec, but I'm going to go for Wahid had his hand up for a bit. So Wahid.
Hi, sorry guys, I'm back again. Because my portfolio is like really big, so I'm like, picking out 3 things would be really hard for me. So okay.
Dude, pick out the best 3 things. I mean, the 3 things that, not the 3 things your grandma or your mom likes, but I mean, 3 things that really set you apart from everybody else in your area of expertise.
So Michael, how like for example, what I do is that, for example, in Pakistan, I work for Nestle Pakistan. I design campaign, I execute campaign, then I go for reporting. Because if I give you the planning part, then somehow I will going to miss the execution part. And it's the execution part where it comes the videos, animation, graphics, bloggers, vloggers, celebrities, everything.
Right.
And
so then pick apart one thing that you've one commercial process that you've gone through from planning to execution to follow-up. There's 3 things.
Can I give you best 3 campaigns?
Sure, why not? Sounds good.
Yeah, sounds good. And last thing, like since I'm working with Canadian company as well as like the graphic designer, so it is all backed by blockchain. So I'm really much into white paper designing and everything. So I want to know, say like, do this course cover things related to blockchain as well?
The courses don't, but as I said, I'm a computer scientist and I have 3 grad students that are working on blockchain technology. So there's an opportunity there as well.
Yeah, I think that would be enough. Thank you guys, and sorry for like coming again and again.
No problem whatsoever. It's actually good that you guys are asking these questions in front of everybody else, because it gives everybody a good sense of it. So Martina.
I got rejected one time. Like previously I got rejected just because my portfolio,
Oh, okay. Martina, go ahead.
So I'm interested in doing a startup. And my question is, would Ryerson University have any ownership or stake in my ideas?
Nope.
No?
Go ahead, Alex.
No, Ryerson has a whoever made it rule. So if you made it, you own it. We don't, Ryerson does not try and stake out any claim to whatever you do. The professor does not, your supervisor, I mean, doesn't stake out any claim in what you do. However, if they do something, they keep what they did and you keep what you did. So it's very, very clear.
So I'm just going to have to try and think about how I'm going to mention it in my letter of intent without giving the idea out.
Well, the
you
funny
can-
thing is, here at the DMZ where we're embedded, the people's ideas are far less important than they think, unless they actually share them in certain ways that make them even better. So, and believe me, we're not going to steal your idea. We want you to have your idea and be successful. So that's what we want.
Okay. Thank you.
As soon as you write it down, you own the IP, by the way. And you'll learn that in entrepreneurship. And Ruth's iPad, I'm excited.
Sorry, this is Ruth from Toronto. Hi.
Okay.
I just had one admissions question. Does Ryerson admit students on a first come, first served basis, or will the committee be reviewing all of the applications after the deadline?
Yeah, so first come, first serve, it's first come, first considered for the initial set of grant funds that are available. And then after that, we continue to review on a ongoing basis.
Yeah, so there's a first consideration date. That's
Thank
probably
you.
what you saw on the web. So that first consideration, we will not look at anybody before that. And whatever's in the pile, because that's what it is, it's not an ordered pile, it's just a pile. We will look at everybody in that pile when it arrives. After we've made decisions for that pile, then it comes in a first come, first served basis, or almost that, because we do it in a committee and it takes time to make another pile.
Okay, yeah, thank you.
Yeah, cheers. So any other questions before we bug out? No? Okay, so just to remind you, we are looking for applicants to apply for January of 2021. If you're interested and you want to have first consideration for the grant, any potential grant monies, make sure you apply before December 9th. And we will make all efforts to ensure that you know that you're coming to start the program way before Christmas. Okay, so that's the first one. Second one, if you apply for fall of 2021, you have until January 18th to send us in your application for first consideration of any grant money. And then we will continue to have a rolling application process until we fill up all of the slots that we're interested in providing. Someone had asked, how many people are we going to bring in this year? So for January, we will consider 20 to 30 people for the January intake. And for the September intake, we'll consider 30 to 40 people. So again, about 180 people apply every year. That gives you roughly about 1 1/3 chance to get in. So if you have any questions whatsoever about your application process, feel free to reach out to us. We're happy to answer all those questions. And again, try to do your best to get all of the pieces together so that when you do submit your application, it's really easy for us just to make the decision. Okay? Lovely. It's been great having you guys. I hope to see you in either January or September. And I wish you a lovely night or a good morning. Okay? See you guys later.